You're listening to our podcast on YouTube, which is awesome. But it's even better if you listen to it on one of the many podcast platforms out there, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, any one of them. You can find it all there, listen to it on the go, wherever you are. That way, we don't rely on the algorithm to make sure that you know that there's a new episode. So check out our podcast or listen to it on our website, podcast.biblicalproportions.com. Thanks for listening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a podcast of Biblical Proportions. Episode 6, Cain and Abel, the oldest conflict in the book. The tale of Cain and Abel, better known as Cain and Abel, is yet another iconic and archetypical Bible story known far and wide. In our popular memory, it is the first murder, the first fratricide, symbolizing the timeless family trait of competition between brothers for their father's attention. This universal theme has made this 3,000-year-old concise and simple story, only 187 words long, still relevant today. As usual, we're going to dive into the world of the people who wrote or listened to this story to see what we can come up with. Hi, Omri.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Okay.
So, the first distinction maybe for me in the story is unrelated to Cain and Abel, but this is the first story so far that we've read that there's no God, gods, Elohim, or God Yahweh, just straight up Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
The standalone deity of the people who wrote and edited the whole book.
The most prominent and obvious theme of this story is the fact that you have two brothers and they hold different
Jobs.
different jobs in society. Professions. One is a herder and one is works the land. And then their names, Cain and Abel, or Abel, or Cain Abel, or whatever, how you want to imagine their accent again. It's a more southern name.
Abel, Abel.
The name Abel or Abel or Abel or Abel, it had the same root as an ancient Arabic word, which means herdsman.
So it's a clear archetype of a herder like Adam, a clear archetype of man.
Man, exactly. And Cain, the same. It has the same root as an ancient southern Arabic word that means metalsmith. So it's no coincidence that we see only Yahweh here. If you follow this trail of thought, it's obviously a southern story. The ancient Israelites, even in the Bible story itself, they are separated into two groups, the northern group and the southern group. The southern group is where Jerusalem is, the northern group is where Chatzor is another famous city.
Chatzor?
Yeah.
I think it's Chatzor.
Chatzor. Hazard. In the story itself, there was only one period, the King Solomon period, and like a few years after that all of this place was united, the northern and the southern kingdom.
Even that is disputed.
And it's kind of disputed. So there's two clear voices out of the Bible, and the voice that tell this story is the southern voice that comes from the Bible.
Which was less settled than the northern side. So they are Hevel, and Cain is the archetypical northern. And the archetypical northern kills the archetypical southern. Oof. So I guess
it's even more than
they had some leverage.
Yahweh likes the southern more. He likes his offering more. That's why Cain is jealous, and that's why he murders him. So for the audience, this story is very familiar.
Yes.
It's not familiar because they can recognize the family themes of envious brother and brother's quarrel.
Also, this is a very short story. They have to put in all their cultural baggage into the story. It's half a word document. Similar stories about conflicts between nomadic shepherds and settled farmers appear in Sumerian stories, in Babylonian stories. So this is something that is very relevant to their society, and you know what? You can see that even today in movies about city people going to live in the village. Then you have this eternal conflict. The village, they're slower, they're more authentic.
Mhm.
The city people, they are more sophisticated, they know more, but they
They
also
are more soft also.
more soft and snobbish, maybe. So this is the same kind of thing, like that we instinctively we recognize the differences between those two forms of societies.
And this is the oldest conflict in the book. Since civilization arose, because back 20, 30,000 years back then, there were no civilization, only hunter-gatherers.
Nomadic cultures.
That was the nomadic cultures was the default of human society, because your existence was nomadic. It's not exactly nomadic. You had like 10,000 kilometer radius or something like that, meters radius that you nomad in it. But when your resources were failing and you need to find new grounds, then you were
Yes.
the nomadic way of life was the default, not the settled way of life.
And then it started to change, and here comes the tension.
And then became conservatism. No, it's not only a tension between settled societies and the nomadic societies that sometimes do bad things to that settled society. They rob, they
Pillage.
they raid, they pillage. It's not only that, it's the fact that the nomadic societies hold some kind of an original, basic essence of
Humanity.
humanity,
Yes.
of like old school, not touched by times, by fashions, like something raw and authentic.
Like the village dwellers in today's movies.
Exactly. I read a great book called The History of the Arabs, and even there, the author talks about this constant tension between the settled societies, I forgot the name, and the nomadic society
In Arabia,
in Arabia.
the desert.
And the fact that the nomadic perceptions of the Arab, even though that throughout the history of Arabs there were nomadic people and settled people, there were more than 2 or 3 versions of being an Arab. The nomadic perception of the Arab with his camels, the Bedouin, that's the name. Hadar is the settled society, Bedouin it's the...
Like Bedouin today.
Like Bedouin today. People of the desert are considered more authentic, raw, Arab.
Closer to nature.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's not only a conflict between the settled societies and the nomadic cultures, as we said. It's also the fact that Yahweh, the God, the deity, and also in the other Mesopotamian myth that you mentioned, God favors the nomadic part.
So he likes what Hevel gives him. Hevel, he's the herder. He likes the
meat and the fat.
The meat and the fat and the milk. But he doesn't like
the fruits of the land.
The fruits of the land, the agriculture. And he doesn't even say why. He just like, no, didn't didn't like it. Just didn't like it.
So even the authors tell the audience, God favors the original part, favors your more untouched by civilization, by the moral deprivation that civilization brings.
Boom.
And that feeling of the bigger your civilization is, your society, your culture, the more it becomes bigger, the moral deprivation of that society becomes bigger as well.
Yes, and you dilute the essence of the culture because it becomes more cosmopolitan, and if it's bigger, then you put in more kinds of people into your empires, so you lose something.
You lose something of your original sense.
Yes, this is like Brexit. This is like Brexit. Now we want to go back to being our own British self, whatever the fuck that means. Or actually, it's more like how the Romans viewed themselves as the civilization, the decadent civilization that is getting softer vis-a-vis those Germans / Gauls / Celts, Picts, whatever it is, The closer you are to nature, the truer you are to how humans are, and the more ferocious you are. To your point about Hevel, Hubble, so look at the punctuation. The first time they mention Hevel's name, it's punctuated Havel. Okay, his brother Havel, and then it says Hevel right there, and Hevel was, so it's both Havel and Hevel. Okay.
I think it's something that is repeating in the Bible, like Lamech becomes Lemech, but the word Havel, it's more similar to the original word Abel, which was herdsman. So some say that this is a story that the characters, because of their names, and because this is a kind of a reclamation of well-told stories in the area, that they are symbolic characters. But I don't buy it.
Don't buy it?
No, because I think that back then, when the editors imagined the prehistory, and they didn't consider it as prehistory, but history, the beginning, the genesis, it was a missing plot. It was a plot hole to be filled. There is a clear hierarchy in their culture,
Yes.
of the people who listen to this story. Power and roles, gender roles and roles in society. So there's a burning question of how we got here, that some people are herdsmen and some people work the land, because this is the most basic professions.
And
And we will see later in the next episode, we will see actual professions being created. It's kind of an explanation of hierarchies. We need to answer the question of how we got here in terms of some people do this and some people do this.
And to that also, the nomadic people, they see the settled societies doing better. They're richer. They are more powerful. So, okay, that might be true. But Yahweh, he liked my shit better than he liked yours.
We are more moral.
We are more moral. So here in the story, being concise as it is, the English version has more than double the words. 396 words versus 187, with all the hath and the art
Thou shalt.
and thou shalt be and all that. This is just becomes a totally different story. But they did a good job in the translation here in one of the most famous phrases in Hebrew in the Bible, Hashomer Achi Anochi, translated to Am I my brother's keeper? An iconic sentence, and we saw in the previous episodes that they didn't do that good a job with translating, with the English translation that has lost its iconicism, whatever it is. And there's another one, another phrase that we now use, someone who is sad, his face has fallen. Lama naflu palecha. Okay. His countenance fell. Nah.
Lame.
And another thing in the translation, they have a chance to correct the grammar, because there is a problem in the way that they describe the murder. In Hebrew it says, said Cain to Hevel his brother, as they were in the field, Cain came to his brother and murdered him. Okay, what did he say? It starts with said. So in the English translation, they just fudge it up, and they say, when Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. He just kills him, actually. Didn't really slay him. When Yahweh asks Cain, where is your brother? This is again the same Yahweh from the previous episode who says,
Interrogator Yahweh.
Yeah, where are you? Also interrogator, and also he doesn't know everything. He realizes what has happened because he has a superpower, and then again the punishment is the same punishment that we saw last time, is that working the land is going to be very, very, very tough. The land will not give you its power anymore. And then he sends him to be a nomad. How do you square that? Navanad in Hebrew, it's very nice. Navanad, going here and there. So the punishment for for someone who does agriculture is to become a nomad. I guess doesn't have the skills to make that work or something. Maybe that's the thing.
Or not, maybe it's some kind of excommunication, not in the Christian sense, but when someone is, instead of killing him, when somebody from the tribe does a really bad thing, the most powerful punishment you can give him is being excommunicated from the tribe and being shunned by your peers.
Yes, you have no protection, you have nothing. Right.
And here, God gave him the mark of Cain, so people will know not to kill him.
Yes, because he whines about his punishment, that people will kill him. By the way, I wanted to say earlier about Cain, you said that it derives from an ancient Arabic word. So the way that Jewish scholars explain it, and it's here in the story that she calls him Cain because I bought a man. I don't know, it's weird grammar, but let's say of Yahweh, from Yahweh,
like
even though it says
God sold me a soul, something like that.
Kaniti.
Yeah.
Kaniti, Cain. I don't Kaniti this. I don't buy this.
It's a clear editing job by the Yahwist.
Yeah, they say Kaniti, it's not buy, it's I received. Okay.
It's again, there is some kind of a reclamation of a well-known story in the geographic location of the people who heard that story being told. It's kind of like when you see Oliver Stone's Alexander, and Alexander speaks in some kind of a semi-British, semi-Irish American accent, and all of the characters speak English, and Aristotle there, Anthony Hopkins, speaks Oxfordian Eton English because he's a scholarly person.
So in their imagination, English is English, not American English, is the language of the old world, of the past. If they all had American accents, that would have been weird. Like our suspension of disbelief
will be more modern feeling if all of the characters, if Alexander and Aristotle would talk American English.
Yeah, that would be weird.
And even the English of the character themselves, you can see somebody that is more educated, somebody is less educated. The English itself, it's not only Oxfordian English, it's also like, Cockney or something like that to show the levels of education.
Yes. You mentioned that when we had this conversation offline about the show Rome, where you see there people in the lower strata, their English is more Irish or northern.
So like the movie Alexander, it's not really the same thing, but there's some kind of a reclamation of a well-known story. The fact that it's a Hollywood movie and the characters speak in English and it comes from the Anglo-Saxon sphere. So the story of an historical, well-known character from Macedonia is part of the Anglo-Saxon history now. It's part of because they showed it in English.
Yes, and
so
because
here
English is the dominant lingua franca of today's world. Because if you saw that movie, it was a Polish movie, and they would have spoken Polish, you would have a hard time. No, that doesn't work.
No, that
doesn't work.
Maybe it works for the Polish people.
yeah, but it doesn't work as because now Polish is just for those in Poland. This has nothing to do with Macedonia.
It's something neutral.
But but English is everywhere. Everybody speaks English.
So here it's quite something similar. It's a well-known story, and you can see the editing job in explaining Cain's name. So the origins of the story are foreign, Mesopotamian, Arabian, Southern, whatever.
But still relevant to them today when they write the story.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cultural reclamation or cultural appropriation by the storytellers.
Yes.
That's why it's so important to them that the origin of the Cain's name will be from the language that they tell the story. It's not because it's a metalsmith in ancient Arabic. It's because she bought her baby from whatever. It's from our place. And another thing about the language. Again, we can't emphasize it enough in this podcast. It's very misleading. Even this story is, if you bring this story for your creative writing course, the teacher will throw you out of the class. It's written horribly. And even when you read the translation, it's the grammar, the sentencing, the phrasing, it relies heavily on cultural context and understanding through that context.
Yes.
For example, when Yahweh says to Cain, why are your face is fallen, which is very nice. It's quite poetic.
Yeah.
He warns him about his feelings, that if he feels envious, he might do something extreme. If you will do good, and if you won't do good, through your door, basically.
Yes.
Like, if you do good and don't do good, on your doorstep will lie sin. Sin will lie. Sin will wait for you. And to you, its passion, the passion of the sin, for you to control it. Even in Hebrew, we need rabbis to translate it to us, or biblical scholars.
Conversely, you can see the beauty in it. Maybe you can look at it this way. Whether you do good or do evil, your sin is lying and waiting for you on your doorstep, and you have passion for it. You have passion for the sin. Ve'elecha tzukato. This is like something very human, very primal, that sin is lying and waiting there for us in case we don't overcome it. In the colloquial translation here to colloquial Hebrew, it says, why are you upset? Why are you sad? Yahweh asked Cain. If you do good, you will be forgiven. Mm-hmm. I don't see that in the in the text.
No.
But if you don't do good, then sin lies waiting for you. The sin wants you, but you can control it.
Or if you won't control your sin will rule you. Your emotions will rule you.
Yes, this is like...
You will be slave to your emotions.
Azeu gibor הכובש את יצרו. Where does that come from? Who is the hero? The one
it's
who...
from the 2nd century. It's Rabbi Akiva, I think.
Rabbi Akiva. Yeah. Who is the hero? The one who controls like your basic instincts.
Yeah. And Cain says, Vayomer Cain, there's not like quotation mark, and Cain said, I think it's more like, and Cain said, in the context of the contemporary audience, it means he came to talk to him. He came to look him up, to talk to him, in an excuse to kill him. It's very understood. I don't understand how you can't understand it. It's so obvious.
So Cain, he's excommunicated. He hides from Yahweh. So again, this is a local god that if you go to some other place, then he won't be able to kill you. And then he goes to settle in the land of Nod, east of Eden, Kidmat Eden, east of Eden. A lot of people try to, throughout history, to try to make sense and ground this story in some kind of historical truth. Where did he go? It was this place or that place. So Josephus Flavius, when he wrote the Antiquities of the Jews, this is like 93 AD. Or 93 CE, Common Era.
Basically the history of Jews.
The history of Jews. So he tries to explain how Cain, he has something inherently violent in him, and all the things that he did later transformed human culture from innocent into deceitful, and how property lines were established, and that is in the negative context. This is mine. There's a line here. I have a white fence around my lawn. This is mine. This is we're not sharing anymore.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my shit. Thank you. And then these people, these soft people, they can pay to have warriors to protect them. This is not the way. This is not the way to go. Dishonorable.
So womanly.
Yes.
Another thing about the language, we can read it in English, and it sounds like, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out of this day from the face of the ground. And in literal Hebrew, it's something like, and Cain saying to Yahweh, my punishment, my sin, or even my poverty, my material conditions are too big to bear. You also removed me today from the face of the earth, and from you, I will hide.
and I was
going here and there.
and I was going here and there in the land, and anybody who found me killed me.
Yes. Like, I want to read the English version again.
And Cain said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out of this day from the face of the ground. Shall be hidden from your face, I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me.
Wow. That's something
Again, I was going here and there on earth, and anybody who found me killed me. And said to him Yahweh, so anybody who killed Cain sevenfold will be avenged. And Yahweh put on Cain's head a sign, so no one will hit him if they found him.
Yeah, unbeatable. All find him he would be unbeatable. you cannot hit him. Bilti hakototo. Okay. Sababa. So to sum up, this story of Cain and Abel, Cain and Abel, Cain, Havel, whatever it is a story that we today see as the archetypical story about rivalry between brothers, the original murder, something that we've seen throughout the ages in history, and also in fiction. Like this story returns. There's also obviously the shepherd, the nomadic shepherd versus settled sanitary society, and there's also the fact that this is strictly Yahweh and a very simplistic and concise story with some jumbled language that is not very understandable, and how you have to change that so much in the translation to make it something appealing to 17th century English people and Europeans.
And also a reclamation of a well-known story that was told in the area for ages.
Yes.
And that reclamation put their narrative in the grand narrative of the creation of the world. Like the society that told that story put themselves as part of the greater narrative of the creation of the earth.
In the next episode, where we're going to talk about the next part of the story that is spanning 1.5 chapters, that has loads of lineages and what people did and how old they were when they died and who were their children and all that. We still don't know yet what angle we'll tackle this part of the story from to make it interesting. But I hope we'll find a way to make it cool. This is all leading up to the tales of Noah. Noah. Whom you know. So after that one, I hope we will have several episodes dedicated to Noah and not just do one. We'll see how it goes. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Be sure to check out next week our next episode. And it's better if you follow our podcast, so you're sure you're not going to miss anything. And if you'd like to help us, maybe you can forward it to a friend, post it on social media, and give us a rating if you're listening to this from a platform that allows a rating. We're available on all the big platforms, and we have a website. And our website is podcastofbiblicalproportions.com. You can find all our episodes there. You can subscribe to our newsletter. This way we'll be able to email you the episode each month. And also there's, if you scroll down a little bit in the homepage, there's episode media where we add all kinds of pictures that hopefully enhance your listening pleasure. So we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.